Hi, everybody. This is the Officially Unofficial Geek. My name is Carrie Quinn, and today we are reviewing Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. I took forever to find this book. I've been looking for it for a while, and I finally found it, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I thought of it now that I've read it. So, let's go ahead and let's get into this. This is like I said, Butcher and Blackbird, Brynne Weaver, the Ruinous Love Trilogy national bestseller, and it just recently re-entered the bestseller list. I saw that on social media earlier today. Um, this was published. Let me get you a publication date of 2023, and so yes, here we are. This is the paperback version of it. I would have preferred to have gotten the hardcover. I prefer hardcovers, but this is the only thing I could find, so we'll go with it. Okay. Um, like I said, this was published in 2023 by Zando Projects, Zando Press. The cover design, the text design is by Pauline Neuwirth of Neuwirth and Associates, and the cover design overall is Cuamber Designs. So let's go ahead and uh, let's dive into this. So one of the things that I really appreciated about Butcher and Blackbird is that it falls under the category of dark romance novels. And basically, what dark romance is it's basically morally gray characters um, in different topics like that. Friends to lovers, enemies to lovers. Typically enemies to lovers is what encompasses a lot of dark romance. Dark romance has um, a lot of following in the fantasy, the romantasy genre of fiction. Um, and typically it is an enemies to lovers kind of thing. Now, I really personally don't know what a lot of other people would classify Butcher and Blackbird being. Um, I don't classify it as an enemies to lovers. I classify it as, you know, um, kind of what it talks about, and what some of the um, advertisements say about it is it being kind of a meet cute for serial killers. So there's definitely morally gray characters here, um, but there's you can't get much more morally gray than serial killer. Um, yes, um, there's definitely morally gray characters here falling in love, and it is a love story, but with a twist. So we go into this knowing this is a dark romance. Not everything is really going to be um, customary, traditional, and not necessarily always quote unquote healthy. Okay. Um, and one of the things that I want to stress that I've always said, um, either on here or in private, or talking to other people about these kind of books in general, that as long as somebody is going in and they are going in with a clear head, okay, they're going into something with a clear head. They're going into something with um, they've been educated on exactly what they're getting into. um, this kind of stuff can be enjoyable. Now, I would also state that going in with a clear head also involves practicing self care, because we know, as today in today's society, that can be kind of a sticky area for people. I mean, I know I've had some of my own struggles with certain aspects of relationships, and um, health and mental health and uh, kind of aspects of things that were not necessarily healthy, that were maybe outside of my ability to deal with, um, outside of my responsibility for the actions. Read into that, however you want to, but yes, I have been one of these people that have dealt with these types of like pasts, that can affect your self-esteem, your moral and mental well-being. And um, I don't mind going into these things because I feel like everybody has a different level of how they feel and how they process things. So I don't mind going into these things, but I know that some people might have a problem with some of the things that are talked about in this book. So I want to make sure to stress, always practice self care, always pay attention to trigger warnings, and know thyself. Um, there's different various platforms and things that you can go to help you um, take care of yourself. You know, um, I will say that my personal level of ability to deal with these sort of things, I did okay with this book. Um, and I mean, I actually kind of, and there were some cringy moments in the book for myself, um, but the cringy moments were few and far between compared to moments that I really actually enjoyed. So, um, this being one, a dark romance, and two, it's kind of humorous and comedic, and it kind of lightens the load of everything with the little elements of humor that it has attached to it. There are definitely moments where I was laughing out loud and thinking, "Oh my, oh brother," like yeah. But so one of the things that they did, and I started kind of talking about it, and then I kind of went off on a tangent. I apologize. Um, is whereas, and I've thought about certain books needing content warnings and trigger warnings at the beginning of the book, right there, front and center, so that you can see them before you venture into the actual text of the book. Um, I like the idea of those being included, and especially if it does not. It's really funny because there's certain ways that you can do that, and we'll get into that in a moment, that can um, act as another kind of description of what you're in for with reading the book. Um, but one of the things that Butcher and Blackbird does is it gives you trigger warnings right from the beginning. So let me go ahead and just kind of give you a little bit of a taste for what you're going into. Um, Content and trigger warnings for Butcher and Blackbird, and is as follows. As much as Butcher and Blackbird is a dark romantic comedy and will hopefully make you laugh through the madness, it's still dark. See, yeah, that's what I just said. Please read responsibly. If you have questions about this list, please don't hesitate to contact me at brynweaverbooks.com or on one of my social media platforms. She is active on she says that she's most active on Instagram and TikTok. And yes, she is very active on Instagram. I just recently followed Brynne Weaver because spoiler alert, how much I like this book. I want to actually check out the next book that's coming out in a couple months, um, attached to this trilogy. So I went ahead and I followed her to make sure that I stayed up to date on that information. So yeah, she is very active on Instagram. So here's the list: eyeballs and eye sockets, amateur surgery, skin adornments, chainsaws, axes, knives, scalpels, a lot of sharp objects, accidental cannibalism, Not so accidental cannibalism. Questionable use of a mummified corpse, lobotomized manservant, ill advised use of kitchen implements. I'm sorry about the cookies and cream, ice cream. No, I'm not really. Detailed sex scenes, which include but are not limited to cock warming, rough sex, praise kink, anal, adult toys, choking, spitting, dom sub interactions, genital piercings, references to parental neglect and child abuse, parental loss, not depicted, um, references to child sexual assault, not in detail. It's a book about serial killers, so there's generally some messed up murder and chaos. Now, what's really funny, one of the things I really like, um, none of like that's your full list, and then it says on the next page, for those of you who read the trigger warnings and said, accidental cannibalism, count me in. This one's for you. And it truly is. When you read something like saying accidental cannibalism right next to not so accidental cannibalism, you have to wonder what the deal is there. Another thing that this book does that I actually really liked and I might utilize in my own writing is the use of a playlist. So when I say playlist, I'm talking about a soundtrack to your reading. I personally was basically finding wherever I could find time to read. Um, and a lot of times when I read novels, I'm doing it right before bed. So I personally did not get to utilize the playlist while reading. However, the playlist is listed before the text of the book and has a QR code for both Spotify and Apple Music. Once I was done reading the book, I definitely went on that Spotify one and saved the playlist so that I could listen to it. And it's really interesting being in that position where you can sit there and you can be like, okay, so this is the songs from these two chapters or this chapter or this moment. And that's how it kind of, you kind of remember and it fits in. And I can only imagine what it would have been like to actually listen to the music while I was reading it. And that's just something that while I'm writing, a lot of writers, myself included, will definitely have playlists. If as a whole or in part that correspond to a lot of the feeling of what they're writing. Um, so that is something that very much interests me, and I love the idea of having a playlist to enhance the reading experience. Very nice, very nice. Each chapter has a song or two or three. I'm not seeing anything that goes beyond three. Yep, most of them are two or three. The epilogue has just one song. Um, these chapters are, let's see here how many chapters. We have 24 chapters, including the epilogue, not including the epilogue, and not including a bonus chapter that is at the back of this book. That kind of like continues the story. Um, so I would say like chapter if you're a person that's a chapter to chapter reader like I am, like if you're sitting down and you can't read and you can't stop reading, if you're obsessive like I am and you have to read an entire chapter in one setting, there's going to be definitely some chapters that allow you to do that, but there's going to be some chapters that, depending on when you're reading them, might be a little bit more difficult to read like that. There's some, most of them are pretty quick chapters, and there's a few of them in there that have a lot of stuff going on, and there's definitely a good reason to keep the chapter going rather than stopping it at a certain point. But it's definitely something that's going to get you out of your, depending on the time period you're reading it, and when you're reading it, and where you're finding time to read, all those factors involved, it's going to probably be something that's either going to have to take you out of your comfort zone. Um, and it's interesting because the book definitely takes you out of your comfort zone, whether that's an issue or not. So then that's another issue on top of that. But I think that a lot of times when the chapter is going on and the chapter is a longer chapter, it's justified. Okay. um they're not going on forever in a chapter, and it's not justified. It totally is. um this book is around, I'm just going to give you like kind of the logistics of the book, um and a little bit about the design and the layout, and then we'll go from there. Everything together is around 345 pages. um the chapter names usually have something to do, or are usually a word or a phrase that has something to do with something from within, a thought, an item, something from within the chapter. The chapters are done in a layout where it is, um, this whole entire book is a multiple point of view kind of book, but it does really great at dividing that point of view, so that each chapter is a point of view. Even if they repeat, there's a couple places where the point of view, chapter, like one chapter will be a character, and that same character takes on the next chapter, but that's pretty rare actually. It happens, but it's rare in the book. And it goes back and forth between two characters, your male and your female protagonist. Um, and let's go ahead and let's mention one more thing about the style, and layout of the book. Um, One of the things I'm kind of on the fence about it, and I'll tell you what that is. One of the things I'm kind of on the fence about is that with the designing um and the layout of the book, is that not every page has a page number. Now, typically, you find that happening sometimes in books, for at least the beginning of a chapter, not having a page number. But sometimes in this, you have a couple different pages, like right next to each other, without page numbers. And it's when you're a milestone reader like I am, and you have to kind of flip around and like, okay, so 2 pages from now is this page number, so that means 2 pages before where I am now is minus 2 pages, and you have to sit there and you kind of have to think about it. That can be kind of annoying. But the one thing that they do that's kind of cute is they have like a little insignia that they use, two little insignias depending on the point of view, is either going to be a butcher cleaver or a blackbird. So, as in butcher and blackbird. Okay, so enough about the design. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the actual content of the book. So those trigger warnings, all legitimate, okay? All legitimate trigger warnings in this book. Um, like I said, two protagonists, one male, one female, and the point of view switches between the two, chapter to chapter. Usually chapter to chapter. Sometimes there's, like I mentioned just a moment ago, you were listening. You were listening. You know, there's differentiation there at times. And before you're wondering, yes, indeedy, I tried to match my lip gloss, my lip color to the book. Yes, I did. I tried to do that just before anyone starts asking. I'm just going to throw that out there. I did that. I tried to do that, and I did it. Anyways, next. This story really hits the ground running, and you meet your female protagonist, Sloane. Sloane is a serial killer that hunts other serial killers, a la not unlike Dexter. I know a lot of people probably are aware of Dexter, if not the book series. Also, they might be aware and or of the television series that was on Showtime a number of years ago. Um, if you've never watched the series, I can account for the series up to a certain point, but I can't remember what season I stopped in. So I only remember the reason I stopped, and that's a huge spoiler. So I can't tell you, but for at least the first few seasons of Dexter, I'm there with you. But anyways, we're not talking about Dexter. We're talking about Butcher and Blackbird. So we meet the female protagonist right from the beginning, and she is in quite the pickle. Okay, and she has hunted another serial killer, a really nasty bastard, and she is now dealing with the fact that she has been in quite the predicament for the last few days, um, and needs help escaping that predicament. This is all stuff that you get, spoiler alert, right from the beginning, right from the first few pages. She sets the stage of what's going on here with her point of view. Um, Basically, she is stuck, she is caught, and she is locked in a cage, quite frankly. She is locked in a cage. And it's one of those like, okay, so like we've got the good news, we got the bad news. The good news is um she lets you in on the information that she's killed her captor already. Okay? This dude's dead, right? So that's the good news. The bad news is she is locked in this cage. It's Louisiana in the middle of the summer, and the dude's been dead for a few days now. Okay? That's the beginning first 2 pages of the book. She's setting that scene for you, right? So she's sitting there and she hears something. She's hearing someone coming in the building. They open the door to the room she's in, and there he is. There is the butcher. Okay. Another serial killer. Um, and he is. I just saw one of the chapters that I noticed. Um, he refers to himself as the butcher, but his name is Rowan Kane. Sloane Sutherland, Rowan Kane. I want to make sure I pronounced that right. I needed to look at the word to make sure I was pronouncing it right. Rowan Kane is a another serial killer that hunts other serial killers. So another, Dexter-like situation. And he happens to walk in, and he is immediately taken by the fact that even though she looks like crap, she's pretty cute. Okay. See, this is where we get into the romance factor. He's obviously attracted to her, even though she looks like crap. Considering her circumstances, he helps her get out, and that's their meet cute. So the story goes on. Um, they get in contact with each other. They contact each other regularly, fairly regularly. They text each other, and they decide that they're going to have this little game that they play every year where somebody, namely Rowan's brother, gives them some clues to hunt down another serial killer. And it's a game who can get to them and kill the bad guy. What bad guy can get to the other even worse guy and kill him. There are people in their lives that are very close to them that do know who they are, and they do have alter ego type characters. Sloane works in an office. where she does some kind of marketing type of position. And Rowan is a chef, a renowned chef in Boston. And so they start, and the over the course of this book is their interactions um, during the game and outside of the game, and eventually um, you get to find out through their point of view, exactly where they end up, um, as it pertains to their lives, as it pertains to each other, and that's the story. Um, I'm not going to give any more information in regards to that, so that I don't give any more spoilers. I don't mind giving you like the little bit in the beginning and give you kind of the idea of what you're going to be getting into, especially if it's something that I'm going to be recommending, which I am recommending Butcher and Blackbird. Um, it made me realize that I really love dark comedy. I like pretty much any genre attached to dark comedy. Um, because I was sitting there and I was thinking, I was like, okay, maybe I want to read a dark romance next. Because of Butcher and Blackbird and how much I enjoyed it. Um, Despite there's a few cringy moments, um, where there's a little bit of roughness coming off of either character. Um, they're serial killers. They're morally gray characters. Okay, it's it's the character. All right. Um, Despite those like few cringy moments, the good outweighed the cringe. Um, and the cringe factor is really just kind of thing that, like, for me, like, it was cringy for me. I don't know if it would be cringy for everyone. Um, the moments that I felt were cringy. Um, and that just has to do with, the whole reason why the trigger warnings are there in the first place. Okay? The whole reason why people have adopted that kind of idea in publishing and other forms of entertainment, just to make sure that everybody goes in to a situation um, with the knowledge of what they're getting into. Um, I know a lot of people are kind of like torn on the idea or completely against the idea of trigger warnings, and I feel like um, none of that's hurting you. It's only helping someone else. Um, so I will always defend the idea of trigger warnings, because why should why should let's not harsh anyone's yum, okay? But also, let's not throw someone into a situation where they're not going to enjoy reading, or not going to enjoy watching movies, or not going to enjoy doing whatever, and consuming whatever form of entertainment they choose. Okay, so there you go. This is a fun, at times funny ride through um, two people finding a little bit of themselves in someone else, and getting to experience finding peace within that, and peace within each other. And I think everybody has a little bit of something that makes them different. And I think that, it's the idea of, well, you find someone who's crazy in darkness, um, fits with yours. And that's kind of the concept that I'm getting from this story. And I think that might be um, what the author may have had in mind. It's the idea of finding someone who's crazy, whose weirdness fits in with your weirdness. Um, so, do I recommend Butcher and Blackbird? Well, yes, I do recommend it as long as you can read it and enjoy it despite any self care that you might have to do involving these trigger warnings. And yes, when I saw accidental cannibalism, I was in. Um, because I do like a little horror. Okay. Um, it made me realize that the genres that I identify with the best are dark comedy ones, like subgenres of dark comedy. So like dark comedy romance, dark comedy horror, dark comedy sci-fi, dark comedy, whatever. Because I like to be a little bit terrified and also laugh. I like that. Okay, so obviously I rate this very high. I'm going to rate this at a 4.5 out of 5. Um, Rating it so high and expect me to read the upcoming second part of the trilogy, which is releasing, I believe, in June. It's called Lark and is it Leather and Lark? Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna tell you. It's a little advertisement for it at the end. Leather and Lark, the second part of the Ruinous Love trilogy, coming in summer 2024. If you follow Brynne Weaver on Instagram, like I have, you will see that that little puppy is coming out in June. Um, a little bit about the author before we go. Brynne Weaver is a U.S. Today bestselling author. She is a fan of velociraptors, the Alien movies. Well, most of them. Aren't we all? Red wine and wild adventures. When not busy at her day job or writing, Brynne can be found relaxing with her husband and son or enjoying her other passions, which include riding horses and motorcycles, reading, and spending time with family and friends. Well, thank you very much, Brynne Weaver. I had a great time reading your book. Um, and not that I'm going to actually tag her or anything in this. That's not good. Don't do that. Don't tag writers in your shit, okay? Don't do it because reviews are for readers. Thank you very much. But I'm just kind of saying out to the cosmos, maybe she'll, feel a little warm fuzzy out in the cosmos that I enjoyed her book. Because that's all we really hope for as creators, writers, creatives, artists. We hope you get something from what we put out there. Hopefully, you get what we intended. But that's it for Butcher and Blackbird. Just to give you guys a little bit of a preview for next month. Next month is April. April is National Poetry Month. And those of you that are just joined me, you may not know this, but girl Carrie here has self-published three books of poetry on her own. So I do know a thing or two about poetry. So I've decided instead of doing a full novel for the Carrie Reads review of April, we're going to review some poetry. I've got my first right here from the Indianapolis Library. I finally got my library card. The Indianapolis Public Library has supplied me with To Drink Coffee with a Ghost by Amanda Lovelace. I've read Amanda's work before. Very interested to get into this one. This is one I haven't read. Um, I've enjoyed their writing before. So Um, let's. I'm gonna read more than just one poetry book, and I'm just gonna tell you that that will probably mean there will be multiple Carrie reads for the month of April. There's a few that I've already planned in my little heart of hearts to review for you, read and review. Um, but anyways, guys, that's about it for right now. Um, I had a lot of fun reading this one. I really liked it, like a lot. Um, but anyways, that's about it for now. So until next time, keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something, say something, and remember, the complacent never make a difference. So go out there, make a difference. If somebody says that they're going through something, they're going through something. If somebody says this person is hurting me, maybe believe them. And maybe, just maybe, on top of telling them that you support them, stop supporting the people that are hurting them. A little extra there. But it's for real. I'll be seeing you guys. Bye.